Hello, Shoyan here. Today, I'm working on the final part of this renovation, the Engawa. First, I remove the sliding glass door frames, then lay down the hallway floor that runs all the way from the entryway to finish it. I've been renovating my way around this house, starting from the back living room. When I first checked the floor height, I found it was a bit uneven, just like I expected. I'm starting with the dismantling. These are some old sliding door frames. They're not colored like the newer ones, just plain old silver, which was common back in the day.
50年持った方やで、アルミ腐食しとるやろ。これがもし海辺やったらもうこれもうポコー膨れて。そんだけ劣化するね。アルミが劣化というかボロボロになってます。
Back then, doors and windows weren't made to fit the frame precisely, so when you slide them, they rattle all over the place. Even a little wind makes them shake like crazy. That means drafts come in, the indoor temperature gets affected, and condensation builds up. Well, it's been 50 years, so I'm pulling all this out and replacing it with something new. As I take out the old frames, I'm reminded of how things were done back then. Where the frames joined, patterns were secured that matched the frame's color. That always caused a bit of warping. And in this house, the transom window is separate from the bottom sliding door frame. Back then, some sliding door frames came with built-in transoms. But here, there's a wooden nageshi running around the inside of the Engawa, which is nice work. Because the nageshi wraps around the inside, you need space for it. So the frame and transom were designed separately to make room for that. They even added mud plastered walls between the frame and transom, showing how detailed the craftsmanship was. Now that I've removed the sliding door frame, I start breaking down the wooden framework. Basically, I'm cutting the head jamb and letting it drop. This used to be a 3.6 meter span, but now I'm installing a 2.7 meter sliding door. So I'm leaving the top head jamb, but removing the bottom head jamb and threshold. First, I need to remove the nageshi on the inside because the nails are hard to see. I check where the nails are and only remove the mud wall around the cutting area. The easiest way to do this is by slicing through with a chainsaw. There's a Japanese phrase for this, cut and drop. Once you cut, it drops right away. I'm sure building it took a lot of work, but tearing it down only takes about 10 seconds. Next, I start removing the flooring. This Engawa is 8.1 meters long, pretty spacious. It's old, but instead of traditional wood planks, it's covered with flooring material. They use the same 15mm thick flooring throughout the house. Usually, with an Engawa, you'd expect wider or narrower planks. But this one continues from the rest of the house, so it must have been done that way from the start. I'm not sure which manufacturer made it, but it held up really well. Even after 50 years, it hasn't delaminated. The color's still there too. They chose some nice flooring. It was tough to peel off because it was really solid, especially under the threshold. Normally, I'd remove the threshold first, like I did in the living room. If I take out the threshold in the Japanese-style room, I can pull the floor up easily. But in this case, the central room is still occupied with tatami mats and furniture, so I couldn't touch the threshold and had to rip the floor up by force. The joists are still solid, no damage at all. It's in great shape. But the issue is that their sizes vary, especially in height. That makes the floor uneven and throws off the alignment with the new sliding door frame. Since I can't adjust it, I'm taking out the entire bottom frame. The crawl space under the house is totally dry, but at some point, a mole dug in and made a tunnel along the foundation. A large ledger is installed on the Japanese-style room side to support the joists. Like I mentioned before, this house doesn't have a sill. Instead, they attached the larger ledger directly to the beam. They joined the joist to that, which set the floor height. I'm planning to use the same method, attach a new ledger board directly to the beam. While I was working, I found some odd hardware buried inside. Not sure if it was meant to hold up a sagging floor or anchor the upward warped threshold. Since there's no outer frame around the beam there, the ends of all three beams on the room side weren't secured square to the other beam. That kind of setup makes floors either warp upward or sag over time.
わざわざ穴開けたんやで。これが上がってきたんやわ、敷きが。
そんなことある？
じゃないかな。これをだいぶ。
Now that the sliding door frame and floor are dismantled, I start with the new sliding door frame, not the floor. I could do both at once, but I've got to get the frame in today, no matter what. If I don't, I won't be able to lock up. So the sliding door goes in first. I'm putting in a 2.7 meter sliding door, centered in the original 3.6 meter opening. I removed all the framing, but the sill, the part where the sliding door sat, is still solid. It's not level, but it's in good shape and runs the full 3.6 meters. So I'm building the new frame right on top of that, starting with the studs. I'm using 45mm by 120mm studs. They're thick and a common size in Japan. I place them at both ends, then add the lintel at the height of the head jamb and build the frame out. I use a laser line to guide the height and alignment for the sides. Even so, I keep checking to be sure. It's hard to feel confident when there's no solid baseline. The original building and even the materials I reused are out of level. So I use the floor as my reference and level the new framing to that. I've already measured and cut the shim, but I make the final adjustments on site. Some people talk about on-site adjustments like they're a bad thing, but honestly, they're the best way to get it right. I use a shim to level the area like this, then measure the lintel height from there. As a carpenter, having clear vertical and horizontal reference points makes all the difference. With those, I can build with confidence. Once I got the level line for the sliding door base, it's pretty straightforward. I determine the frame height by factoring in the bottom shim. There's a hanging post in the middle of the 3.6 meter span. I left it a bit long, so I cut it down so that the head jamb could sit higher and fasten securely to it. I can hang the new lintel to the original hanging post. Glad I didn't remove it. Now that the framing's done, I install the sliding door. Modern sliding doors are much taller now, so they're harder to handle. I can still manage from sill level, but tall doors are really awkward. Also, I feel like we use more screws these days. Even for exterior parts, we don't use nails, it's all screws now. The connection is stronger, but screws can pull in too tightly if you're not careful. So I don't screw from the outside first, I start from the inside. Especially for the head jamb. If you screw the outside first, it can twist the sliding door frame. So I adjust the height evenly by screwing from the inside, then secure it from the outside for support. That keeps everything clean. Now that the frame's in, I install the sliding glass doors. These new doors are really heavy. Just having double pane glass adds so much weight. I don't know why it's so heavy. If it were 90 centimeters wide, I definitely couldn't carry it alone. Next, I adjust the rollers on the doors. With narrow doors like these, it's hard to get all 4 rollers aligned. Even a 1 millimeter difference on the top or bottom can throw things off, because that difference gets multiplied by 3 to 4 times. In other words, it can shift the top alignment by 3 to 4 millimeters. Next, I attach the waterproofing membrane to the wall. At this point, I can finally lock up the house. It took 1 day to dismantle and 1 day to install the glass door and waterproofing, so 2 days total. I suppose we've still made good time. The upper waterproof sheet is overlapped the wrong way, but I'll use modern flashing tape, which works really well. And it's not like water constantly hits this spot. The waterproof sheet is just a precaution. I'll tape over all the seams So even with the reverse overlap, it won't be a problem.
More. 貼るってことやね。
Now, I removed the exterior wall, the glass door frame, and the floor of the Engawa. It's spacious. Next, I'll start rebuilding the floor. That's all for today. Thanks for watching.